Welcome students, I am Samir Patil. In this chapter Mechanical Properties of Fluid, today we are going to study the topic which is surface tension and other topic in this chapter which is excess pressure across the free surface of liquid. Every molecule on a liquid surface experiences force due to surface tension, which are tangential to the liquid surface at rest. The direction of the resultant force of surface tension acting on molecule on the liquid surface depends upon the shape of that liquid surface. This force also contributes in deciding the pressure at a point just below the surface of a liquid. In this figure, let Fa be the downward force due to the atmospheric pressure. All the three figures show you two molecules A and B. Now if we consider only first figure, then in this case the resultant force due to surface tension, which is represented by a vector Ft on molecule at B, is 0. Because for this plane surface, both forces are equal and opposite in direction, and therefore the force Fa itself decides the pressure, and the pressure at A and B is the same in this case. Now if we consider the convex liquid surface in the second figure, the surface of the liquid in this figure B is upper convex. In this case, the resultant force due to surface tension, which is represented by vector Ft on the molecule at B, is vertically downwards and adds up to the downward force vector Fa. This develops pressure at point B, which is inside the liquid on the concave side of the meniscus. Thus, the pressure on the concave side, that is inside the liquid, is greater than that on the convex side, that is outside the liquid. So, for convex surface, the pressure inside the liquid is greater than that on the convex side, that is outside the liquid. Now, if we consider the third figure, which is concave liquid surface. For concave liquid surface, here in this diagram, the liquid surface is upper concave. In this case, the force due to surface tension represented by Ft, vector Ft, on molecule at B, at point B, is vertically upwards. The force Fa due to atmospheric pressure acts downward. These two forces, Fa and Ft, thus act in opposite direction. Therefore, the net downward force responsible for the pressure at B is less than Fa. This develops a lesser pressure at point B, which is inside the liquid and on the convex side of the meniscus. Thus, the pressure on the concave side, that is outside the liquid, is greater than that on the convex side, that is inside the liquid. So thus we discussed these three diagrams, that is the surface. In first diagram it is plane, in second diagram it is upper convex, and in the third diagram it is upper concave. Now we will discuss the explanation of formation of drops and bubbles. Uh, the question can be asked such that derive an expression for the excess pressure inside a drop. It is also called as the Laplace law of spherical memory. So, as shown in this diagram, we consider a spherical drop. Let Pi be the pressure inside the drop and P0 be the pressure outside it. As the drop is spherical in shape, the pressure inside the drop is greater than the pressure outside. Therefore, the excess pressure inside the drop is Pi minus P0 or PO. So PO is the outside pressure and Pi is inside pressure, and the pressure difference, that is excess pressure, is Pi minus P0. Now suppose the radius of drop increases from R to delta R. So there is a small increase in the radius which is represented by delta R. So delta R is very small, so that the pressure inside the drop remains almost constant. So that is the consideration we have taken here. Now the initial surface area of the drop will be 4 pi r square. So A1 is the initial surface area, and the surface area of the drop is given by A1, which is 4 pi r square. After expansion, its final surface area becomes A2 is equal to 4 pi in bracket r plus delta r square. So this is the area, final surface area of the drop. So what is the increase in surface area? The increase in surface area, so here substituting, or if we expand the bracketed term of r plus delta r whole square, we get r square plus 2r delta r plus delta r square. And after multiplying it with 4 pi, we get this term. Now here this delta r is small, and the term delta r square is further becomes smaller, so we can neglect it. So finally the equation we got is A2 equal to 4 pi r square plus 8 pi r delta r. So here we neglect delta r square because delta r is very small. So this is the final surface area. So we have two equations, A1 and A2, for the initial area and final area. So the increase in area, or we can say change in surface area, is given by dA, which is A2 minus A1, and it is 8 pi r into delta r. It is represented by equation 1. Now the work done in increasing the surface area by delta A or dA is stored as excess surface energy, which is represented by dW. And we know the formula of work done, dW is equal to T into dA. We derived it in last time. So substituting the value of dA, that is increase in surface area, we have dW is equal to T into dA, which is T multiplied by 8 pi r into delta r. So it is represented by equation 2. Now this work done is also equal to the product of force F and displacement delta r. So that is the general formula for the work done. Hence another formula for work done will be dW equal to F into delta r. Equation 3. Now excess force is equal to excess pressure multiplied by surface area, because the formula of pressure is force per unit area, and that's why excess force is equal to excess pressure multiplied by surface area. Substituting, we get F is equal to Pi minus PO multiplied by 4 pi r square. Now equation 3, if we substitute in this equation 3, we get dw is equal to pi minus po multiplied by 4 pi r square into delta r. This is the equation 5. So we have two equations, equation 2 and 5. So if we equate them, equating equation 2 and equation 5, what we get? We get equation 6. Now what can be cancelled out from both sides? Yes, we can cancel pi, we can cancel delta r. So what we have now? Pi minus p0 is equal to 2t divided by r. So this is the final formula we have, equation 7. This equation gives the excess pressure inside a drop, and this is called Laplace law of spherical membrane. Now if we consider, instead of drop, if we consider soap bubble. So in case of a soap bubble, there are two free surfaces in contact with air, the inner surface and the outer surface. Therefore, for bubble, equation 1 changes to dA is equal to A2 minus A1 is equal to 2 multiplied by 8 pi r into delta r. So since there are two surfaces, inner and outer, we multiplied it by 2. Hence, total increase in surface area of a soap bubble while increasing its radius by delta r is given by dA is equal to 16 pi r into delta. So it is represented by equation 9. The work done by this excess pressure is now given by dW is equal to Pi minus Po multiplied by 4 pi r square into delta r, and it is equal to T into 16 pi r into delta. So cancelling the terms which are common on both sides, we get the final equation Pi minus Po is equal to 4T divided by R, which is represented by equation 11. So this is the equation for the excess pressure inside a soap bubble, which is 2 times greater than that for liquid drop. So this is the derivation called as a Laplace law of spherical membrane, or it is also the expression for the formation of drop and bubbles. This derivation can be asked for 3 marks or 4 marks also, but typically it is generally asked for 3 marks. Now we move to another topic, which is capillary action. Now what is capillary action? The phenomenon of rise or fall of a liquid inside a capillary tube when it is dipped in the liquid is called capillarity or capillary action. So that is the definition of capillary action. So the examples of capillary action are where we can observe this capillary action in our daily life. First is oil rises up the wick of a lamp. Second, cloth rag sucks water. Water rises up the crevices in rocks, or the sap and water rises up to the topmost leaves in a tree. So water जो है, it can rise up to the topmost leaves in a tree because of the surface capillary action. Another example is blotting paper absorbs the ink. So these are the typical examples in our daily life where we can observe capillary action. So basically it is the phenomenon of rise or fall of a liquid inside a capillary tube when it is dipped in the liquid. Now if we discuss capillary fall, because there are two phenomena, either liquid level rises or it falls. So first of all, we discuss capillary fall. So consider a capillary tube dipped in a liquid which does not wet the surface, for example in mercury. The shape of mercury meniscus in the capillary tube is upper convex. Now let's consider 4 points A, B, C and D as shown in the figure. Point A is just above the convex surface and inside the capillary. Point B is just below the convex surface inside the capillary. Point C is just above the plane surface outside the capillary, while point D is just below the plane surface and outside the capillary and below point C. Now let's PA, PB, PC and PD be the values of the pressure at the points A, B, C and D respectively. The pressure on the concave side is always greater than that on the convex side. Okay, so that's why pressure at point B is greater than pressure at point A. As the points A and C are at the same level, the pressure at both these points is the same and it is the atmospheric pressure. Hence, we can say that pressure at point A, PA, is equal to pressure at point C, that is PC. Between the points C and D, the surface is plane, and hence we can say that pressure at C is equal to pressure at D and it is equal to pressure at A. So PC is equal to PD is equal to PA. And hence PB is greater than PD. But the points B and D are at the same horizontal level. Thus, in order to maintain the same pressure, the mercury in the capillary rushes out of the capillary. Because of this, there is a drop in the level of mercury inside the capillary, as shown in the figure B. So, as the liquids which have convex surface, upper convex surface, they show fall in the capillary. Now, if we discuss capillary rise, for that, we consider liquid which weights the solid like water or kerosene. It is represented in figure 2.14a. Pressure, the liquid surface inside the capillary is almost concave, upper concave, and therefore pressure at point B is less than pressure at point D. And as a result of this, the liquid outside the capillary rushes into the capillary, and hence there is a rise in the liquid level inside the capillary. So capillary fall or capillary rise depends upon the shape of the liquid surface inside the capillary tube. If the shape of the liquid surface is upper convex, then liquid level will fall. And if the shape of liquid surface in capillary is upper concave, then the liquid will rise inside the capillary. Now let's find the expression for capillary rise or fall. Now there are two methods by which we can obtain the expression for capillary rise or fall. First method is by using pressure difference. For that, we consider this diagram. There is a capillary tube in which liquid is there. Let small r be the radius of capillary tube and capital R be the radius of concave surface of liquid inside the capillary tube. Let theta be the angle of contact. So now pressure due to liquid column of height h is given by h rho g, that we know, and we derived this equation before. So the pressure is given by h rho g, where h is the height of liquid column, rho is the density of liquid, and g is the acceleration due to gravity. From Laplace law of spherical membrane, the pressure difference due to concavity is given by Pi minus Po equal to 2T divided by R, that we have derived previously. So that is the equation 2. Hence, by combining these two equations 1 and 2, we get h rho g is equal to 2T divided by R. But the radius of curvature of meniscus is capital R is equal to small r divided by cos theta, because in this diagram cos theta is the ratio of adjacent side to the hypotenuse, and that's why the formula becomes capital R is equal to small r divided by cos theta. Substituting in equation 3, we get h rho g is equal to 2t cos theta divided by r. So simplifying this equation, we get h is equal to 2t cos theta divided by r rho g. So from this equation, we get that since t, theta, rho and g are constant, the height is inversely proportional to r, that is the radius of the capillary tube. So as the radius decreases, the height increases. So the capillary tube having smaller radius will show greater rise in liquid level inside it. So H is inversely proportional to R. Now we discuss the second method by using the forces acting on liquid inside capillary. Again, we consider this diagram in which there is a liquid column in a capillary tube. The liquid rises up to some height h. So the rise of water inside the capillary is against the gravity. Hence, weight of the liquid column must be equal and opposite to the proper components of force due to surface tension at the point of contact. The length of liquid in contact inside the capillary is the circumference. So the formula of circumference is 2 pi r. Force due to surface tension is given by Ft. It is equal to surface tension multiplied by length in contact. So here length in contact is the circumference, and that's why substituting what we get, Ft is equal to T multiplied by 2 pi r. Now where the direction of this force is along tangent to the liquid surface, as it is shown in the graph. The direction of Ft is tangential. So we can resolve it into components. The vertically upward component is Ft cos theta. So the vertical component of this force is Ftv is represented by T into 2 pi r multiplied by cos theta, represented by equation 2. Now the volume of liquid in the capillary rise is given by volume is pi r square into h rho. So pi r square is the area, surface area, and that is multiplied by height and density. So therefore, the mass of the liquid in the capillary rise is given by volume multiplied by density. So it is pi r square h rho. The weight of the liquid in the capillary rise is given by W is equal to mg. So weight is given by mg, where m is the mass. So substituting the value of m, we get pi r square h rho g, represented by equation 3. Now this weight must be equal and opposite to the vertical component of the force due to surface tension. And therefore from equation 2 and 3, if we equate them, we get pi r square h rho g equal to T into 2 pi r into cos theta. So cancelling common terms on both sides, we get the equation h is equal to 2t cos theta upon r rho g. Or we can say that T, which is surface tension, is equal to RH rho g divided by 2 cos theta, represented by equation 4. So from this equation also, we can say that height is inversely proportional to the radius of capillary tube. So this is the second method to obtain the equation for the surface tension by using capillary rise method. So for today, this much is sufficient. So students, please learn these topics and try to solve these derivations in your notebook. It will help you. These are very important topics from this chapter. Okay, thank you.